So this is the third week in a series that we're doing on the journey of awakening. And if you missed any of the previous ones, you can find out how to watch them from the cards that are in front of you, on the chair in front of you, or you can just go to the website and you'll see where to get that. And if you want to be on our mailing list, then that's the blue card here. So this journey of awakening is really the journey of Lent, which is the time that we prepare ourselves going up to Easter. It's the journey where we drop our crutches and allow the chips to fall where they may. We stop propping up our own idealized, fabricated realities of how we like to see our lives, how we like others to see us, and we fall back on the reality that actually exists, warts and all. And that means when we let go of all these props, whether it be alcohol or whatever it is, you know, the letting go stuff or the taking up stuff, we feel the pain that we're supposed to feel because we haven't got that numbing element there. Because pain points us to the places that need healing. And we don't run from pain, but we allow it to be there to tell us what it teaches us. Sherry Mitchell, a Native American, who, in her book, Sacred Instructions, she says, "I've learned that the only way out of pain is to stop running from it, to meet it, sit with it, feel it, and see what it has to teach you." Pain is an incredible teacher, she says. It provides us with a clear signal that tells us when we need to transform. That signal rings loud and clear. The anger, the shame, the guilt, the rage, the frustration, and the fear are all outcroppings of that pain that we carry. The wound that is causing the pain that we're now feeling within our societies isn't new. But how we respond to it can be, she says. When properly addressed, this pain can be mobilized and will mobilize us and lead us towards the transformation that we so desperately need. If we can find the courage to face it openly and honestly, it will heal us. And so we let go of the things that numb our pain and take up things to show us where to put attention, whether that be meditation or the things that enable us to feel what we need to feel. So Lent, this time leading up to Easter, is a time of heightened consciousness. I wonder if anyone here, I'm going to come out to you now, see if you think it helps. I wonder if anyone here feels that they are opening themselves to that process at the moment. Anyone feel that they've let go of anything or sensing a new reality? I've had a few Lenten interviews so far, and I just want to encourage you. I have said that if you would like to come for a Lenten interview, just to have a conversation about your spiritual life, just give me a call and come along and have a chat. But I'm just going to give, we might have that deafening silence. But has anyone actually taken something up or given something up that they'd like to say how they're feeling about it at the moment? Camille, yes, I'd like to thank Camille. You may notice I'm wearing a flower. Because Camille has brought us beautiful, I was going to say homemade flowers, but beautiful live flowers. And I'm really grateful to have live flowers. Camille, yes, have you done something yourself?
You're welcome, Nicholas and Heather.
Yeah.
I'm improving my eating. I've been reading Anthony William, the medical medium books, on life-changing foods.
Yeah.
And I'm really feeling a change, and I've given up wine. Ouch. Only 40 days. And I'm feeling a difference.
Thank you, Camille. That's exactly what I was hoping someone would say. That's great. Anybody else want to say that they're doing something at the moment? Well, I think one's not bad, so we'll quit while we're ahead. It's always worth asking to see what people are doing. So, as I said, we're following the readings that the church follows in Lent. And the reading that Tracy read from the Bible is the one that everyone is listening to in the Catholic Church, in the Protestant Church, all around the world. And this week, the reading that is set is the reading that describes Jesus. It's the Transfiguration. It's Jesus revealing himself to the disciples, and it's their awakening. It's the moment they awaken to the fact of him being the Christ, being the enlightened one. It's Jesus expressing his enlightenment, this particular moment. And it's the equivalent of Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree, or Muhammad's revelation in the cave, or Moses seeing the burning bush. All the way through, you can see these different, the still small voice that Elijah hears, the still small voice. Those experience of awakening that they have, that B. Griffith commented on as being the goal of each religion. The absolute transcendent state, the one reality, the eternal truth which cannot be expressed and cannot be conceived. And people say, they say, oh, well, Christianity is not an Eastern religion. I mean, right there in there, there's this big wham-bam enlightenment experience that's quite clear and absolutely expressed. And this awakening is the same awakening that waits for every human being. It's latent in all of us. And how do we know that? Because others have experienced it, and the sages have written about it. It's the awakening that is portrayed in this icon. You can see, as I said before, the gold represents the awakened state, the red represents the physical bodily state, and the black represents the unconscious. And you can see little unconscious beings in there, which I was saying to someone last week is like your thoughts in meditation. They're always there, your thoughts in meditation, but they are trumped. Can't use that word nowadays, can you? They are trumped. It's a card expression. They are trumped by the gold of the enlightenment, and also by the fleshliness, but they're still there. And there's that enlightenment. And you see, as I said before, you see all the icons. You see that gold around their heads, the halo, is an expression of that enlightened consciousness. In his book, The Life of Pi, Jan Martella describes it as a quickening of the moral sense, which strikes one as more important than intellectual understanding of things. It's an alignment of the universe along moral lines, not intellectual ones. It's a realization that the founding principle of existence is what we call love, which works itself out sometimes not clearly or cleanly, not immediately, but nonetheless ineluctably. An intellect confounded, yet a trusting sense of presence and of ultimate purpose. And that lies at the heart of all our realities. And it's upon this that the work of all spiritual understanding is based. This is the basis of it. All the great religions were founded on this same experience and have become the religions that they are today, whether that be Islam or Christianity or Judaism, Buddhism, Taoism. They're all a result of a cultural interpretation of this experience. In my view, religion is a cultural interpretation of the experience of the individual who founded that religion. So he has that experience, and then there's a cultural interpretation of that. And so all of us have that awakening latent within us. And if you bore down into the consciousness of each person there, if we went right the way in there, that experience is there. It's there within each of us, because we're all of the same makeup. We're all the same human being. We have the same reality that's within each of us, which is how we know that there's an answer to the mess that we find ourselves in today. We know that because this deep reality does exist there. This deep wisdom, this deep truth is within us all. much more important than the intellectual thinking and let's make this. This deep truth is there. We know that there is common ground, and the question is whether or not humanity will realize it in time. Whether or not we'll get there in time. The Tao Te Ching describes it thus: look and it can't be seen. Listen and it can't be heard. Reach and it can't be grasped. Above it isn't bright. Below it isn't dark. Seamless, unnameable. It returns to the realm of nothing. Form that includes all forms. Image without an image. Subtle beyond all conceptions. Approach it and there is no beginning. Follow it and there is no end. You can't know it, but you can be it, at ease in your own life. Just realize where you come from. This is the essence of wisdom. You can hear the same experience in all these religions. In the Upanishads, the Hindu scripture, it says, in the heart of all things, of whatever there is in the universe, dwells the Lord. He alone is the reality. Wherefore, renouncing vain appearance, rejoice in him, covet no man's wealth. The self is one. Unmoving, it moves swifter than thought. The senses do not overtake it, for always it moves not. From the ignorant it is far distant, yet it is near. It is within all, and it is without all. He who sees all things in the self, and the self in all beings, hates none, goes before. Remaining still, it outstrips all that runs. Without the self, there is no life. You can hear it in the same thing in all the religions. And Heather mentioned T.S. Eliot. Here's this T.S. Eliot says this: not known because not looked for, but heard, half heard in the stillness between two waves of the sea. Quick now, here, now, always. A condition of complete simplicity, costing not less than everything. And all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well, when the tongues of flames are folded into the crown knot of life, and the fire and the rose are one. These allusions to this experience just keep coming. And finally, Hazrat Inayat Khan, in his book, The Heart of Sufism, says, once the soul awakens, it begins to see that truth is always new, and it always renews the soul, giving it perpetual youth. When one finds differences between the teachers of humanity, these are only in the lives they lived. But no matter what their life was, whether they be kings or fakirs, whether they walked or rode on an elephant's back, whether they were on a throne or in a mountain cave or in the desert, they all had the same experience: realization. They might appear to be comfortable and rejoicing, but they heard the same note which others heard in their tortures. Those who were kings, such as Solomon and David, and those who were sages, such as Krishna and Buddha, all these different souls have the same realization, the same philosophy. There could never be an argument if they were all to meet. But they're not meant to meet because they're all one. It was the spirit of guidance which manifested through all these different names and forms. And we in our generation, we can hear these voices, and these voices point to the place of hope. It points to our hearts where that hope beats. And it says to us, there is a known reality that reveals true understanding and shows the partial view that rulers and potentates have as they divide up our world. The partial view that rulers and potentates have as they divide up our world. Their partial view is an old understanding. It is based on survival rather than salvation. It takes us to a place of fear rather than a place of safety. and it fosters division and discord rather than the deep peace of lived wisdom. It is the awakening of this that we strive for. And, when you talk about the second coming, in Christianity, all these ridiculous ideas of Jesus coming down in a cloud, surfing down. I mean, that's not really the description that is being talked about. The whole concept of the second coming, or the omega point, as Teilhard de Chardin describes it, is that point of complete realization, where all humanity realizes that they are from the same being, and that they are expressions of the same being. And when everyone realizes that at that moment, then there is the great aha moment, when there is complete understanding. And that's really, what we move towards. That's, if you're looking at a second coming, that's what we're moving towards. And you can feel the reality of that in your own bodies as we become more aware. That there is an arc of history if it is allowed to become. And it has to be allowed to become. However, the partial understanding and the conflict that leaders have inflicted on the world has ever been thus over the past 50, 100,000 years. What has not been ever thus has been this understanding of the core reality as expressed by these spiritual leaders in the world that I've mentioned. That has not been ever thus. That's recent. That's only been around for the last 3,000-5,000 years. It's referred to as the first axial age, which is the first realization of the deep reality that exists within us, that is connected. And it's new. And the time from which this new wisdom has come to be realized through Buddha, through Jesus, through Muhammad, through Lao Tzu and others, the realization of the unified core of our existence. And in the shape of things, it's recent. We think, it's aging. It's not. Time passes so quickly and so slowly. But it is recent in terms of the fact that the universe is 13.7 billion years old. 3,000 years is nothing. But this is the realization that has come to humanity over this time. And it has started, and it has started, and you've got Jesus, the disciples. And the problem is that when these things stutter and start, they then become politicized, these experiences. And you look at the history of Christianity. You have Jesus, Shazam, at the Transfiguration. Wow, all the disciples, wow! They all became, Peter, they became enlightened beings from, fishermen and idiots. So suddenly they were all enlightened beings, and stuff like that. And this moved on. And suddenly after 300 years, Constantine thought, let's have this be a political reality as well as a religious reality. So he created the flag. He made it political. There was sort of national Christianity. And boom, the whole thing gets reduced to a political reality. And it happens over and over again, that reducing of this experience to political reality. It happened to Muhammad, happened to Lao Tzu, and you can see it today as religions are continually becoming a potent political weapon. It just becomes currency. Lao Tzu saw it. Lao Tzu said, when the Tao is lost, there is goodness. When goodness is lost, there is morality. When morality is lost, there is ritual. Ritual is the husk of true faith, the beginning of chaos. When they lose their sense of awe, people turn to religion. When they no longer trust themselves, they begin to depend on authority. Isn't it amazing, this wisdom that is still so relevant today? And it's always been that way. The difference now is that we're much more aware of it. The rising of global consciousness. You may think, it's just television and social media. No, it is a different level of consciousness. where something can happen in, China, and we can know about it 30 seconds later. It is a different level of consciousness. And when you look at it, all the media in the past all suffered once it was, invented, whether that be books or television or all of them go through this, isn't this wonderful? And then this is going to be our death because it's going to be dreadful. All these things have happened, but there is definitely a transformation in that level of consciousness. And we're at a crucial time. The temptation in all this is say, let's just wait and see. Let's wait and see what happens. Yeah, this is all very interesting, but let's wait and see. But the truth is, it's now up to us to speak up about this, to speak up about this concept of awakening. And that's what we're working towards here. That's what we're doing here. And, there are millions, well, not maybe millions, but there are lots of people like ourselves working on absolutely this particular issue. And they are all trying to work out what's going on. This webinar that we've set up, we have over 1,000 people have now registered for that. And there are people all, and I specifically used on the poster the word non-duality, which would, half people say, well, I didn't want to have to educate. I want just people who understand what that is, so that we don't have to, go through all the stuff of this is what it's about. No, you only really sign up when it says non-duality if you understand what they're talking about, not to this experience of oneness, the experience of one consciousness. And there are people working on this everywhere. Thich Nhat Hanh, that quote that I used at the end of last week, said, to create fundamental change, we, the members of society, have to transform ourselves. If we want real peace, we have to demonstrate our love and understanding so that those responsible for making decisions can learn from us. And we tell ourselves, we're not going to make any difference. It's not going to make any difference at all. People always do that. That's what keeps things the same. The reason more people don't go for all the top jobs, like, I went into advertising. The thing that stops people going to advertising, they think, well, I'm not good enough. I'm not going to get a job in television. I'm not going to get a job in this. I'm not going to get a job in that. You tell yourself. And similarly, we tell ourselves, what we're going to do is not going to make any difference. That lovely quote, people do make a difference. That lovely quote from Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. It's the only thing that ever has. Now, Margaret Mead is great, actually. This is totally by the by, not really related to anything else. But years ago, an anthropologist, she was asked by a student what she considered to be the first sign of civilization in culture. Margaret Mead was asked this. And the student expected Mead to talk about fish hooks or clay pots or grinding stones. But no. Mead said that the first sign of civilization in an ancient culture was a thigh bone that had been broken and had been healed. Mead explained that in the animal kingdom, if you break a leg, you die. You can't run from danger, get to the river for a drink, or hunt for food. You're meat for prowling beasts. No animal survives a broken leg long enough for the bone to heal. A broken femur that has been healed is evidence that someone has taken time to stay with the one who fell, has bound up the wound, has carried the person. I'm on the last page now, so, has carried the person to safety and has tended the person through recovery. Helping someone else through difficulty is where civilization starts. Helping someone else through difficulty is where civilization starts. We are at our best when we serve others. Be civilized. We're just trying to be civilized here. That's what we're doing. And so little groups do make a difference. You can think of the examples. What's the first example I'm going to come up with? The 12 disciples. Yeah, here's a small group that did go out and did make a difference. You've got the barons and the Magna Carta in England, small group, forced something to happen. The Peasants' Revolt, the Boston Tea Party, Solidarity in Poland, Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters. I wonder if people know who they were nowadays. What other examples? Anyone who can think of any other ones? Ukraine? Yeah, small group of people that make it. Thank you, yes. Anybody else? Who? Founding Fathers, yes, very good. Small groups of people that make a difference. Somebody else? Sorry? The Underground Railroad. What a fantastic example. Absolutely, the Underground Railroad. There are small groups of people. Sorry? Teachers, yes, a slightly bigger group. But yeah, the fact of the matter is we just know that it does have to start, teachers, she said, has to start with a small group of people. Small groups over the world now are talking about the same thing that we're talking about today. Have the confidence to proclaim the wisdom that we know to be of value. And you might say, what good is that wisdom against guns and bombs? Why do you think they burn books? Ideas are much more powerful than guns and bombs. This is an idea whose time has come. Either that or we're in the end game. It's up to us to decide. So just going to open it up. If anyone would like to say anything or make a contribution, please feel free. If there's a silence, that's totally fine as well. But just want to give anyone an opportunity to come back at us. Yes, Maureen.
You know, when I was thinking about when you were asking about small groups of people will make a difference, I thought about David Brooks, who comes to Aspen a lot, journalist, New York Times columnist, and he talked about the weavers, the people in society who are almost doing these unsung roles. I mean, think about what Andy's doing with the Loneliness Project, the Hope Foundation, all of these various organizations, but people that are just contributing to a beautiful way of living, but they're not particularly well known, but they are the weavers of a good society.
Yeah, thank you, Maureen. That's so true. Bruce.
Thinking of the fairy tale of the emperor's clothes, and one little kid says, "Hey, he's in his underwear," and everybody goes, "Oh my gosh, he's in his underwear." And I recall that during the era of McCarthyism, where he's a big bully, and he got enough people behind him that he was going to go root out all these communists. And I think finally it was Margaret Chase Smith, a senator from Maine, who said, "Have you no decency?" And all of a sudden, that just shifted. And a lot of it also has to do, I guess, with timing. I mean, there has to be a big enough sort of underground, sort of disaffection with what's going on before the catalyst comes along. But I'm watching approval ratings dropping.
It's interesting that George Clooney is doing Good Night and Good Luck on Broadway at the moment as well. Just to open that up, which is about that whole subject matter. Thank you, Bruce. Anybody else like to say anything? Yes. I didn't know your name. Do you want to?
Rob.
Sorry, Rob.
Rob. So something local here that affects us every day is the women that saved Hunter Creek. And that, to me, is the epitome of small group going against development back in the 70s.
Yes.
And it affects us here on a local scale, and I thank them.
That's a lovely thing to say. Thank you so much. That's great, Rob. Yeah. Anybody else?